Hey there, if you want to support what I do, make sure you like the video and subscribe to the channel. Right now, I want to hit 100 subscribers by the end of the year, so it would help a lot. Anyway, that's enough begging from me for now, so enjoy the video. Character design is something I take great interest in. It's fun to learn about and figure out how it can be applied to creative projects. Now, to be clear, I'm still not the best at this stuff, but if you've seen my more recent designs on my Instagram, wink wink, I have improved a bit, so I feel that I can talk about what I've learned so far. Though something to note here is that although I have improved in my almost 3 years in making 2D character art, I still have quite a bit to learn and try out. I mean hell, I'm just starting to experiment again after sticking with a style for around 3 months. Thanks to my new setup and all. Okay, maybe I should stop talking about my setup. It's not like I made a whole ass video talking about it. So in this video, I'm going to talk about my growth and experience with making original characters. I'm also going to give a few tidbits of advice that help me become better at what I do. But make sure you do a little more research about what I'm talking about if you seriously want to get into character designs, and follow channels that can actually go into more detail about certain aspects, like this guy. I've actually been using the advice in his videos to help me out. It's pretty good, so go check him out. Now, with that out of the way, let's get started. As you may know, good-looking designs to serve a purpose for what they're created for don't just come out of nowhere. It takes tons of revisions, reworks, and modifications to get to a final product that everyone will be able to recognize and emphasize with. Due to this, the first draft will probably have around an 85% chance of looking almost nothing like the final design. Why would I only say around 85%? Because of the fact that most characters are built around and are meant to serve an initial concept or purpose. That purpose can be as simple as an NPC in a video game, or a mere rival of an existing character, or as challenging as making a fully fledged character with a real personality and backstory that has to be conveyed in a piece of artwork. This is where I don't really come in for the most part, as I technically started making my own OCs out of LEGO Bionicle and Hero Factory sets in 2012, and started sharing them online in 2016. At that point, I was in my designing infancy, which was still good, as it meant I was constantly making the most ridiculous damn things I could to see what works. Which also includes, this thing. Seriously, you deserve an award if you can distinguish anything going on here other than the head. It wasn't until around the time I started on YouTube that I started making more eye-pleasing and consistent designs. Which is because even though I still wasn't good at designing, I had more of a vision for what I want my characters to be. I even had some early concept sketches of these things at the time for that vision. Later on, I turned things around a bit, because this time, I actually wanted to take designing somewhat seriously, even though it was still LEGO. So I redesigned them, took half the color away, and made them look a bit more edgier than before. For example, here's one character before, and the same character after. Yeah, quite a difference. I also scrapped some of the more ridiculous concept as well. I mean, do I have to show you that jumbled mess again? Okay, cool, big deal. I had to change in vision and age a few things up. So what? Yeah, you're right. I'm getting a bit off track. So, I'll get straight to the reason why I made this video in the first place. Later on, I got really into drawing. Starting out with a pencil and paper, translating a lot of my LEGO characters into more original 2D designs. After that, in late 2018, I got my device which shall not be named, and dabbled into making more original designs, with some including Luke, Meta, and my first piece of fan art, which is my custom avatar from Rec Room, because it's a good game and I still liked it all the way back then. But because the drawing program was ass, I continued forth with pencil and paper and got myself a new sketchbook. Here is probably where I started going off on redesigning all my characters, with some going for a more Mega Man X inspired look. It wasn't until late 2019 until I finally got a taste of that sweet Photoshop, and started to really hone in on my style, whether that be for my avatar, humans, Automons, or Cygrids. Yeah, I know those names are stupid, but just go with it here. I also managed to give my characters actual color schemes as well, and test out shading, which looked legitimately awful, I'm going to be honest with you. Further down the line, I used my sketchbook less and less, mostly as something to help me get started with the design and do the bulk of the work on Photoshop. Now, with all that said, there's a pretty clear line in how I improved over time, and how I might do so in the future as well. Things like fixing up proportions, adding more variety in design aspects and color schemes, experimenting with new concepts, stuff like that. So other than just practicing, how did I manage to make my stuff look better than before? Well, here are a few tidbits that I learned that could help you improve as well. As I said earlier, iconic designs don't just appear out of nowhere. They take a while to get to their final designs, and you mean those are changed incrementally over separate entries and throughout the years. Some character designs can be so good and iconic that fans will get super pissed if there ever is a redesign, even if it does capture the spirit of the original, and especially when it tries to do something new. And whether the behavior is warranted or not is situation and character specific. Silhouettes, aka sliding the brightness setting all the way down, are pretty important for designs to stand out from one another. Things that would help would be large shapes sticking out of them, tweaking their poses to make more important aspects of the design more noticeable, or using bigger and less complicated shapes throughout the design. All this relates to posing as well, needing to be easy to read so that they can be understood more quickly. So what would you think would be easier to understand? This? Or this? It should be pretty damn easy to answer, but in case you're stuck, the answer is the latter. Speaking of shapes, they can also say a lot about a character and their personalities. Some of the more obvious examples include circles and round shapes equal cute and wholesome, rectangles/squares equals strong and sturdy, and triangles and other sharper shapes equals sleek and edgy. Another thing of note is color, the Roy G. Biv kind. If you wonder why you have a favorite color, this will probably explain something. Each color conveys some sort of emotion or personality trait. Some examples include red, which can mean anger and explosiveness, yellow, which is often bubbly and happy, or blue, which is calm and somber. As colors pack emotion in them, you should be able to choose a color palette that can describe how your character feels. Or even if the colors on a character don't represent how they typically are in the moment, you can make a background consisting of the colors of how they feel in that piece of artwork. Next is facial expressions. You should know what expression means what by now because you and everyone else have been making them their entire lives. But what you should take note of is how much your character would typically make certain expressions. That may sound a bit confusing, and trust me, it does, but hear me out. If your character is typically very serious, they would be more likely to have a frown and angry eyes. You know, the usual military guy. And if they're laid back and cocky in most situations, they would have a shit-eating grin on them or something. All I'm saying is, keep the way your character acts consistent with their personalities. The last main thing I want to talk about is clothing. What role does your character play in the story? Why do they wear certain pieces of clothing? Make sure the clothing is appropriate for the character's role and personality, and maybe have some of it be representative of something. Like me, I often put scarves on the more major characters, sometimes hiding the bottom of their faces for reasons I don't feel like explaining. But you can go ahead and try to figure them out if you want, I don't really care. All of these rules and tidbits may be set in stone, but they can also be a bit flexible, and be used to subvert people's established expectations of that character, like giving someone a tough-looking exterior only to be a complete softie on the inside, or using a smile to heap some deep sorrow. What the hell is that doing here? Take these as you will, but the main point of this is to help you make designs that look interesting and appropriate for what concept and purpose you're going for. Oh yeah, also have your concept and purpose for those characters in the first place, even if it's just for a single small-scale project that you'll forget about the next day. Just take my advice in consideration, and put a little bit more effort into what you're making, and you'll be able to make some great things later on. Also, again, don't just listen to what I have to say. Do some of your own research and follow advice from people who actually know what they're doing. I just thought it'd be neat to give advice from the perspective of someone who also has a lot to learn, but already has a good idea of what they're doing. So go out there, do what you can to make your concept look the best you can make them, and go on to learn more on how to make them even better. And yeah, that's all I have to say for this video. So thanks for watching, make sure to comment down below on who your favorite character designs are in any media, and why you think so. And no, huge features don't count. Anyway, I'm gonna go now. I'll see you next time.